Hey everyone, welcome back. You know the drill, you know how it works, you know what to expect. I have a, excuse me, a request video here that I'm going to do today, and it's come from several people who have emailed us on this particular topic. Not necessarily one that I'm excited about or anything, but there is interest out there, so I'm going to comply. However, I do want to add something here, and I think it needs to be addressed at this point. I think a good many people that are out there need to understand that the twin flame information is evolving, it's changing, it's growing. A lot of the things that were pertinent, important, and had relevance over the last 4 or 5 years no longer do. It simply doesn't fit anymore. Why is that? The reason for it is very simple to explain. We are growing and evolving. Even twin flames are evolving and growing. And they're getting greater awareness, greater access to information, and greater inner knowing and understanding of the process as we continue to awaken. I am no different than anyone else. I and both Nicole, both of us, are awakening even more and becoming more aware. Does that mean that the information that we gave in the past is wrong? No, absolutely not. What it does mean is that as we are growing and evolving and we are becoming more aware, that the information being presented by us and many others in many different areas of the spiritual community are no longer relevant as we're growing and evolving. So I've gone back and I think today, excuse me, I have removed, I don't know, 34 or 35 videos that I didn't think were applicable to where we are now. And I think it's a good idea that I'm going to keep continuing to do that. And I do believe I have done a video somewhere in the past on near twins and false twins. And I think I don't think it's even up anymore. I think I either deleted it or it's in the private realm. I'm not sure. I'd have to go and look. And I wanted to mention that before we get on, because a lot of people seem to be, as of late, getting very touchy about when you want to kind of move forward with information. And I think some people are misinterpreting that I'm doing twin flame bashing when I'm not. What I'm trying to do is to present some information that may be pertinent. And some of us obviously are having a great deal of difficulty of letting go of the old belief system in regards to twin flames and find it necessary to defend or pretend that they don't hear new information or different information coming out, and they want to keep the niche that they're in. And I understand that. That's a comfort zone. Sooner or later, the comfort zone will disintegrate, and the person and the people involved will have to stretch and grow and evolve. And they will do that. The more new information that comes out, the more we wake up, the information that comes will actually, without being even directed at the people, they will be exposed to it eventually, sooner or later, and they will have to react to it, excuse me, in whatever way that they see fit. So some people take it one way, some people take it another way. And I kind of look at it this way. If I'm of the opinion that everyone likes exactly everything that I'm doing, and people don't get upset with the information that I put out, then if everybody likes what I'm doing, then I'm doing something wrong. Because if I'm doing it right, in my feeling, there are going to be people who are going to be pissed off at me, and are going to be offended, and they're going to think all kinds of things. And that's fine. I get that. I understand that. I'm okay with that. Doesn't bother me at all. But in other words, I'm just going to keep on trucking and keep putting the information out. As long as I'm here, I will be doing that. Okay, now, the twin flame, near twin flame, false twin flame. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of try to describe this to you a little differently by using some of the experience that Nicole and I have had. We've been together for a long time. We've actually come across, literally probably over the years, thousands of different sets of twin flames at some point in time, in each in a different situation. And in many cases, what we have found is a lot of people who were absolutely convinced that they've met their twin flame suddenly find out, well, it wasn't a twin flame at all. It was, in their opinion, what's called a near twin or a false twin. One of the things that I never do, and Nicole never does either, is if someone comes to us and tells us it's their twin flame, that's good with us. We take it for cash. We do not try to convince people any other way. If they come to us and ask us because they're not sure or they need a second opinion, then we do our very best, if possible, to be able to assist them to make that experience legitimate for themselves by giving them understanding or knowledge or explaining to them the situation as it is. Okay, now, what happens in many cases here, and this is the way I'm going to approach it. Say, for example, you're one of those out there and you're absolutely convinced that you've met your twin flame. Now, normally what happens is this is the way it goes. Someone has an unusual connection with someone. They meet, they have that, what's the most popular one these days? Oh yeah, right. It's the one where, well, we looked at each other and it was like we've known each other forever. And you'll find that on just about every twin flame symptom site that is giving that information out there. And that's one of the signs of a twin flame. In actual fact, it's not. It actually simply means you met someone from the same soul group. There's a lot more to a connection than just you meet someone and you feel like you've known them forever and you look in their eyes and there they were. You feel like you're old friends from the past. It just means you met someone from the same soul group. But what happens is, and this is what people do, when they have these connections, because they don't know what's going on, they've never experienced it before, what are they going to do? They're going to do what everybody else does. They're going to jump on the internet and they're going to start looking around. And they're going to go to soulmates, they're going to go to relationships, and eventually, guess where they're going to end up? They're going to end up on someone's twin flame site or twin flame group, or they're going to end up in a Facebook group. It's all standard procedure. Once they do that, then they're going to start absorbing the information of the particular group, forum, clan, whatever you want to call it, information about what twin flames are. And this will then, as the information is given, convince them even more that this person is more than likely their twin flame based on the signs and symptoms. Because what they all do then is they go through kind of a mental inventory and say, okay, yep, I have that sign, I have that sign, I have that sign, I have that sign, I have that, and I know you do it. I know people do it. That's exactly what you do. You didn't know what it was before, but all of a sudden you go in and you find a twin flame forum or a twin flame site, and you start ticking off the information. That's the first thing that you do. One of the most popular information on any twin flame forum and site is the twin flame signs and symptoms, the most popular one of all, because that's where everybody goes to validate. Once they validate and they've got 5 or 6 that are in line, and some that are probably questionable and some that are iffy, yep, it's my twin flame. So they go through all of the behavior modalities and all of the expectations and all of the agendas of this something that they met with this person that they can explain, which is now deemed a twin flame connection, relationship, union, whatever else you want to call it. And then somewhere along the line, what happens is this person doesn't seem to fit anymore. The person has problem with drugs, a person has all kinds of dysfunctional patterns, the person is a real dork, is not working out, there is, and this can be happening on both sides of the fence, going back and forth. And what's going on? Well, why is my twin flame not cooperating? Why is she not doing this? And why is he not doing that? And then the question comes into play, well, perhaps this wasn't a twin flame at all. Perhaps it was what they call a near twin or a false twin. Someone etherically, spiritually, pretending, or looking like, smelling like, or similar to what's called a twin flame. So the pattern starts to repeat itself again. And what happens is people have missed the point. The new template for relationships on the planet has been set. The twin flames, and here we go again, not millions and millions and millions and millions of twin flames. The few twin flames that are here have done what they came to do as part of the mission format. That is, in the coming together of some of them, together as a couple, and some of them not as a couple, but on their own, have set the new template, have magnetized it, energized it, and it's now available to everyone. And I believe I said this before in another video. So what happens in this particular perspective is suddenly that magnificent connection that the person had, it was so intense, and it was bliss, and it was like agony and the pain and everything else. Guess what? Some of them come to the point where they realize that perhaps this was just the initial experience. Perhaps if I leave out the twin flame label, that this is perhaps a learning curve or a learning experience that came to me because this is all I could handle at this particular moment in time because of the state of consciousness that I'm in, because of the environment that I reside in. And the environment that I reside in, I mean this a little differently. I'm not talking about where you live or the house where you live. I'm talking about the world of consciousness that you have created. Everyone creates their little world of consciousness. I call it the 50-foot circle for the average person in most cases. Most people's awareness doesn't extend much further than 50 feet around them. That's all they care about, is what's in their little circle of circumference and radiation. So the experience comes exactly where you are. The experience of the twin flame, as you believe it to be, comes to you because it's necessary at that point, at that vibration, and it will only give you only what you're capable of handling. You're not really capable of handling a higher vibration at this point. Some people will take that negatively and say, oh, there he goes, he's bashing people again. I don't give a rat's ass. You know, some of you are really getting downright silly with some of the things that you think that I think, that you think I'm thinking, and all that kind of stuff. If you're at this point and you're getting exactly what you need for your growth, and growth is not always pleasant. Sometimes it can be a very painful experience as you have to let go of things. So what happens? Finally, and again, I'm using this as an example here. This is in general terms. I'm not picking any one person out. I'm using it in general terms in that sense. So don't focus and take it personally. I'm not speaking to you personally. I'm generalizing here in a form. Okay, so please don't do that. Don't take what I say personally, that I'm speaking to you. So what happens is finally you let go, or you release that attachment to that particular, what you called was a twin flame. Now you can label it a false twin or a near twin. What has happened? In the initial phases, what happens is this. All of us on this planet, and I was no exception to the rule, and neither was Nicole, nor neither was any other set of twin flames, or anyone else for that matter. Our old template of relationship, and you've heard me mention this before, and I don't think it's sunk in with a lot of people. Our old template of relationship was based on the emotional experience of love, relationship, and sexuality. We now have a new template that begins at the top, from the highest spiritual vibration that a person can digest at any given moment, and then filters downward. We're on an upward scale of evolution here. So what happens? The same person that I'm talking about, 6 months down the road, suddenly another person comes along. It doesn't necessarily mean that it could be for a female, it could be a male. It could be another female. For a male, it could be not necessarily a female, but another male. And I'm not getting into the gender mixing here, And this has nothing to do with same-sex relationships. I'm talking about spiritual connections here that take place. What happens again? People react in these situations based on the old template of relationship, love, and sexuality. So what happens is we have all kinds of people trying to interpret this high vibrational connection that they've experienced with this other person and wondering why the other person turned out to be a real dickhead, or why she was a real ass, why it didn't work. Well, that's because you had expectations mixed in there about this might be a twin flame relationship, as it's popularly called by a lot of people, and that's not even close to being a relationship. It's just an intense experience between two people, which has gotten so badly distorted. And then suddenly what comes up, well, it had to be a false twin flame or a near twin flame. And that's the information that has been presented out there. I did the same thing. I admit it. Did I make a mistake? No. I only gave the information that was pertinent at that time to the people that were in that particular situation, and what I was aware of, what is what was necessary, at that moment. So now what happens? Things have changed. That same person suddenly comes along and bang, they connect with another person. And guess what happened? The first connection suddenly is a pale reflection because the second one's even more intense than the first one. What happened? And here's the point that most people miss. Here's what happened. During that time, everyone can remember that first connection at that high vibrational level. And remember, that's where you were in consciousness at that point. That's where you were in belief systems. That's where you were in your 50-foot environment that surrounds you. And don't take that again personally. I don't mean it that way. So that's the experience that you had. But during the time that you were going through the experience, something happened to you. You changed, you evolved. You begrudgingly, in some cases, or easily, went through a lot of mental, emotional, etheric, letting go, changing, evolving, and growing. So the second experience comes along and you're blown away, and it's even bigger than the first one. And you go, oh my, what's going on? That was definitely a near twin. This one has got to be my twin flame. This is my twin flame. For certain, it's my twin flame. And you're going to rush into all of the sites again. You're going to look at all of the information again, and you're going to say, yep, that's what it was. It was a near twin, one of those false twin people. And never realizing that what happened is it was all about you all along. It was never about the other person, per se. You wanted it to be about the other person because that's what everyone else told you that it was about. That's the problem with the twin flame information. It is always pertinent that you cannot live, you cannot survive, you will do nothing unless you have that other person in your life, and that's bullshit. That is pure and simple twin flame bullshit that a lot of them keep spouting in that sense. So what happens? The second one comes along and you're just in bliss land, you're blown away, and it's just more intense, and you say, this is the one. And the energy flowing through you, the heart center activation, the Kundalini energy is moving, and this is the one, man. This is it. No, it's not. Not necessarily. How do I know this? Because I have seen situations where I have met people who have been totally convinced they met their twin flame, and then had to make a course correction 6 months or a year or 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road and say, I don't think that was my twin. That's one of those false or near twins. But now I've had another experience, but wow, this one wasn't with a guy. It was with a girl. And, well, I'm not gay, so what do I do now? And I've seen it the other way around where it's been a guy and another guy. And, well, what do I do now? Do whatever you want, but think about what you're doing and think about the process you're going through at the same time. I've made mistakes in this area in the past also. So has Nicole, and so will everyone else. And it's okay to make a mistake. It is not a sin. You did not do anything wrong. People, I want to emphasize to you this. We are in such a state right now of evolutionary change that it is amazing. It is amazing more of us have not made more mistakes than what we have. We have been extremely lucky. We have been must have been having divine guidance and a lot of help from unseen helpers because, we're not making really dramatic mistakes. We're going through a learning curve of this process and understanding it. And there are people out there, yes, who are manipulating it and using it, and yes, abusing it and taking advantage of it. And that's okay. That's okay. Let them do their thing. They won't be there that long. But understand you're going through a process. So that second person you made, at that point, you've gained greater awareness. You've gained greater awareness. You think differently. You're not the same person that you were before. And in many cases at this point, you've actually come to the point where you don't like the word twin flame anymore. And you've probably reached the point where you've outgrown a lot of the Facebook groups on twin flames. And this is a normal process. There is a learning curve of going through all of these Facebook groups. A lot of people think that I'm bashing Facebook groups. I'm not. They're all wonderful. They all have a purpose, and they all have an evolutionary frequency to them. And people go through them, step by step by step. I go in there and I watch all the time. I can see all the stuff that's going on. And it's a process that you're going through. So finally they get to the point where they don't even want to hear the word twin flame anymore. And actually, as a matter of fact, I get sick of it quite often too, because it's been so degraded and messed up by so many people, it's not even funny. However, it's what I do, and it's what Nicole does, and that's what we're here for. So now with a greater awareness, now you're thinking differently. So what you're doing now is you're not jumping into the old format of, well, I got to get into a relationship because this has got to be my twin flame because the other one was a false or a near twin. So you don't jump in this time. You're doing something different. Guess what it is? You're thinking about it. The magic word. You're thinking about what happened, what's opened up in front of you, and you're thinking about it. And someone's going to say, well, what was I doing in the first case when the first one came along? You didn't think about it. You reacted. That's the difference. You reacted to the old programming that was there. You did exactly what you were trained, cloned, and programmed to do. And in this particular case, I find females, and no disrespect intended here to females, are more predisposed to this than men are. Females want that relationship. That's what they are in general terms. There are many females who are okay not being in a relationship, but the biggest majority want that relationship. They want the man there with them or whatever. They want to live in the burbs. They want to have the house and the kids and the rest of it kind of thing. And what happens is when the energy gets very intense, that's what they believe. And this is, don't take this personally. I'm speaking in general terms here. This is what I've observed in this process. So they react to the old programming, relationship, love, and sexuality. But it's not there anymore as we're moving up, you see. So in the second situation, you think about it. You don't react like you did in the first. You think about it. And then you make a conscious choice because your awareness has expanded. Your awareness has expanded. So you begin to think. And while you're thinking, because your heart center has now activated, you're in a higher vibration than you were before. You're no longer down here in the emotional attachment to love, relationship, and sexuality as it was in the past. You're now open to a spiritual connection, understanding it, looking at it, and realizing, well, if I'm having this intense connection with this person, then, wow, could it be possible that I can have this with 4 or 5 people at the same time? No shit. I never thought of that. Well, I'll be damned. And this is what happens right now. As you go up in greater awareness, you can have very intense connection with a whole pile of people all at the same time. Are they all your twin flames? No, I don't think so. Are they all near twins? No, I don't think so. Are they all false twins? No, I don't think so. So what's the problem? The problem is we need to get rid of the label false twin flames and near twin flames and start with some new ideas and some concepts to work with. How does that sound? Ooh, could be tense. Some will have gnashing of teeth because, oh my, there goes Mel again. He's off on one of his tangents kind of thing, asking us to drop this and drop that. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. drop the near twin flames, drop the false twin flames. It's all part of the process. Only people have put a label to it, and I did it myself, and I'm changing it now. And I took down the video in the past because it's no longer applicable, and I wish some other people would do the same thing. Drop the old stuff, let it go, and let's get on with the new stuff, and let's get helping people in the proper fashion that we should be doing at this time. So, now you're thinking through this process. You make a conscious choice as to how you're going to do it. You may want to explore it somewhat, or you might want to step back and say, well, I think what I better do here is I'm going to drop the labels here for a bit, and I'm going to try to explore this. And you make the decision, I don't think I'm going to do anything at this particular point. I'm going to let it go. And this person I really have the hots for, and heart center burns for, and I really feel connected to, I'm going to use my greater awareness that I have now, and I'm just going to accept that there's some kind of I'll use the word soul-to-soul connection or energetic connection or sharing going on between the two of it, and I'll leave it at that, and I'll just allow things to unfold. What was that you said? Allow? What does that mean, allow? It means I don't go into my head and dig out any kind of expectations or agendas based on relationship, love, and sexuality that I used to have in the past that no longer fit, so I don't need to do that anymore. Allow. Wow. Allow. Doesn't that set you free? Allow. I think I'm going to change my first name to that. Allow. Hi, I'm Allow. Are you Allow? Let's all allow. You see, whole different frequency when you say the word. I'm just going to allow the situation to unfold. And you have some marvelous connections that take place with people. You go through a learning curve here and there. You might make a mistake or two. It's not a sin to make a mistake. There's no such thing as a sin. And if you don't make many mistakes, then you're not learning anything. A mistake is a beautiful thing. Why do people think that there's something wrong with a mistake? Mistake is a beautiful thing. When you make lots of mistakes, you know you're learning. When you're not making any mistakes, you're not learning. You're in a rut. And you all know what a rut is, right? You don't? It's a grave with both ends open. I hope you got it, okay? I gotta throw in a little humor once in a while, just to make your day kind of thing. Okay, so here we go. This is going to be a long video, but I'm into it, and I think it's a good one. At least it's sounding like it's pretty good anyway. So here's what happens. You make the decision to do nothing. You just allow. A whole pile of circumstances begin to happen to you. You're feeling different. And suddenly, because you didn't make the conscious choice, and again, this is just an example here based on experience that we've gained with other people. You just decided to go with the flow and not really do anything and allow. And suddenly, you find your consciousness expanding. You make a connection with these people in the dream state. You start connecting with them in the etheric planes. And suddenly you could find yourself having a sensual sexual experience with one or two of them, whatever kind of thing, in the alternate realities by definition. And suddenly, there you go. You've learned something and you've gained something, but nothing ever physical ever happened in the three-dimensional world. We're all learning this by making mistakes. And mistakes are a beautiful thing. We agree on something, do we not? So what happens is, as you go through this twin flame, the near twin, the false twin, you come to greater awareness and you allow. So what happens is, because you didn't get caught in the old template again, and let me point out something to you that I've learned a couple of 3 times. When you get into greater awareness and you have that greater awareness unfolding within you, what happens is, you can call it the universe, higher self, guardian angel, whatever label you want to put it doesn't matter. The universe likes to test and see if you got the message. So what they'll do, they'll repeat the same process. So here we have this person who now had the second intense connection. It's a false twin flame or a near twin flame. And suddenly they got a handle on it. Yeah, I got it. We ain't going to do that no more. I got a handle on it. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to have another one of these situations come up, and it's going to be even more intense than the first 2 were. just to see what you're going to do. Well, why is that happening? Because now you've come into greater awareness, and also what's happened is your 50-foot circumference is now 200 feet radius around you. You've also gone through some biological changes in your physical body, and you're consuming and eating less contaminated food, and you're becoming lighter. Your environment has changed, and you have become more conscious at this particular point. So you're now have reached a relative state of spiritual maturity and can make decisions on your own without putting your foot in your mouth every other day or so. And higher self, if that's the appropriate word, whatever label you want to use, throws a little curveball at you just to see if you got the message. And here comes another one with a great intense to it again. And by this time, after the second or third one, I can assure you of something. I can assure you of this. You have definitely outgrown the twin flame label. Believe me, you have outgrown it. It's no longer applicable. It no longer fits. It's only when you're at a certain layer and a certain awareness of consciousness that you're really going to vibrate with the twin flames. Because when you don't vibrate with twin flames, it's exactly when you're probably going to make the connection with someone that is viable to you. Now I'm going to repeat that again. When you no longer vibrate with the old vibrational template of twin flames, then you're probably going to actually connect with someone. And I'm going to get into details here again. So at this point, you're starting to realize this is the process. This is not about near twins or false twins or even twin flames. This is a process of evolution that is taking place to balance the masculine and feminine in myself, yourself, initially by giving you greater awareness and a sense of freedom to make some conscious choices. You see, all of the people, basically, and some of you are going to take this personally, who are in twin flame groups right now, and you vibrate with what's going on in there, you're not making a conscious choice anymore. You're not expressing your freedom. What you are doing is simply caught in the information that's pertinent to the group or the state of consciousness or awareness of the people that are there. And you're there at that point. So therefore, the label twin flames is going to resonate with you until you outgrow it. And you will outgrow it sooner or later. Does that mean that I don't think I'm not a twin flame? No, not at all. I'm a twin flame. I'm just moving up in awareness. And as I move up in awareness, I'm talking from a different state or a different state of awareness. And what's happening is I don't resonate with the lower vibrations of twin flames and the belief systems and the information that go along with it. That's not being judgmental or critical. I'm only making an assessment. Some of you are going to say, well, there he goes, he's making judgments again. Go ahead, assume what you want. Now, what happens at this particular point? The template has been set for a new form of relationships at a very high spinning vibrational cycle. That's what's taking place. Twin flames have set that template. Twin flames on the planet now have moved on to other avenues of expression. This goes in to the area of healing the sexual energy on the planet that's going on by using their own bodies and their own energies to do that. Others are moving off into different areas and doing that also. But the process of the template has now been set and completed by twin flames. It doesn't need to be reset and reset by others at this particular point. So what happens is the person now that I'm talking about has gone through this for the second time, and the third time has showed up, and they didn't say, well, I'm just going to sit and wait and see what happens. And as they do this, on the third occasion, what happens is they find out that their before 50-foot radius of energy, which is now a 600-foot radius of energy, has attracted to them someone who is not in a 50-foot circle of awareness, but is in a 600-foot circle of awareness, same as them, damn it. Holy mackerel. All things being equal, suddenly this person has now reached a point where they can express a sense of freedom, and they can do it consciously because they're aware of their surroundings, what's going on and what's influencing them and what's not, and what they choose to be and say. They have radiated out an energy of that vibration. And suddenly another person shows up that's in the same 600-foot vibrational awareness of they are. Guess what happens? Gee whiz, they get together. And then at that particular point, what are they going to call themselves? They don't give a shit what they call themselves. They don't really care what the label is. All they want to be is one with each other. You see, it's all the rest of us that are so caught up in the labels. You see, the one thing that I do know about twin flames is the last thing they want to be is labeled twin flames any longer. Some of you will understand that, some will not. I'm sure I'm going to get comments on this video. But the whole idea of the video here is to throw away the significance and the importance of the labels and the titles. And imagine this 600-foot awareness vibration of the two people. Imagine what their thoughts are going to be. Imagine what their thinking is going to be. Can you possibly think they're going to actually care whether somebody calls them twin flames, soulmates, sacred relationship, sacred partnership, split aparts, divine hearts, golden farts, whatever? They're not going to care. They're just not, because it's irrelevant. And that's what twin flames came to do, to set that. Now here's the beauty of this situation. All of that which the 600-foot awareness people have come together with is now available to all of us. It's not just for the select few, the chosen ones, or a certain culture or a certain race. It's for everyone. It really is. And I can attest to that fact. And that's what's going on. So, having said that, I think this is an appropriate time for me to end the video. I'm sure some of you enjoyed it, some of you probably didn't. But I spoke from the heart, and I spoke from my vibrational awareness, and I just like to be helpful and to give to people information that is pertinent. If I say anything that set well with you, keep it and use it. If I said anything that upset you, then you really need to take a look at why it upset you. Have a great day, everyone. It's been a pleasure.